Hi, I'm Joseph Crudup, and welcome to my storybook. Today, this is the part 19 of this book called TD Jakes Before You Do. The beginning story of this part 19 and chapter 19 in this book are page 285. Chapter 19 Before You Gamble. It is never too late to be who you might have been. As we face new horizons and adventures, we can only be infected if we discriminate whether we want to do what we do is an investment in the future or a gamble in the moment. If you know anything about me, you know that I live by faith and support faith as the integral part of a person's life. Living by faith requires responsibilities and not its abscess. However, some people lose the word faith as a worthless religious license to gamble. They said, I believe everything will be alright despite any evidence invite to the contrary because I have faith. I've seen people who write checks on faith, knowing that the funds were not in their account in their account, but hoping that they will somehow miraculously appear before the check gets processed. I have seen people marry on faith, hoping and believing that the other uh, person, will change the level. I have seen people accept positions that they knew they were not qualified for because they have faith that they could learn it level. Is this faith? No, it's no better than gambling. At Shakespeare, so apply put it. A rose by any other name was small as sweet. Just because you want something doesn't mean that you should claim fate and that's intended yourself to go after it. You may lose faith as an excuse, but the reality is you gamble away precious moments in your life, and it is time to get back what you lose. It is time to get back what you lost. Literally, I flew into Las Vegas for a business meeting. Walking through the luxurious hotel casino, I was immediately distracted by the cleaning and changing sounds of solar machines, live music, and intentionalist terrorists. Gamblers from all over the world have come to Vegas specifically to take the risk of losing money. It struck me that the entire hotel establishment was gambling on its client taking this risk. With five-star commandos, celebrity treatment, uh, spa service, and going on cruises, more and more hoteliers, they'll count on their guests taking the risk of gambling. Like so many other aspects of our culture, gambling has evolved into an acceptable pastime in our scholarship. A few decades ago, our fathers played penny poker on the front porch, laughing as they cut up over their cold drink. Then gambling became synonymous with Las Vegas and the Rat Pack, with casinos and gambling at houses run by shady shacklers in dark suits and mirror sunglasses. Then from this sexy, glamorous remains it evolved into something more mainstream and family friendly with childcare, theme parks, and kid-friendly restaurants. You may not think of yourself as someone with a gambling problem, but if you are taking risks in important areas of your life, repeating the same mistakes in relationships, at work, with your kids, over and over again, then you might as well be burying a lame horse in its late race. You cannot avoid taking risks in this life. Most of daily life involves taking risks. Every time we sit down, we risk the shell breaking. When we drive in our cars on the highway, when we risk our car breaking down, or the possibility of an collision with a drunk driver, flying is flying is the same way. We all risk every day simply by the choices we make. It's not about avoiding risks, it's knowing which risk to take. And leap of faith. My life has been filled with taking risks. 13 years ago, when I was loading up the truck and moved from West Virginia to Dallas, the risk involved with this move dominated by thinking. Essentially, I could have stayed where I was, doing what I was doing, and enjoying a secure, stable life. But God's calling was leading me to Texas, and numerous other terrible pieces of data reinforces disability at the center of my ministry and business invaders. Like leap, like in leap of faith, my mood in the West was put out in the field, and essentially, however, it was not a blind leap of off a cliff into the unknown sea below. I had a job, a minister, and we are supporting myself. I have 50 families committed to going with me and starting in the Paul Potter's house. We were going to something, not just leaving something behind. I realized that I had to live with the consequences of my move, whatever conditions improved or deteriorated from what we had known. But before I moved, I had reflected, disagreement, accepted responsibility, and I have done my due diligently, my resource in development. I had sought the courses of so many wise individuals who knew me and my calling and stomach and demographically and spiritual needs in the era that became my new home. I had faith, but I also had done the hard work of gathering data and listening to others. The move was not a gamble. Faith without work is dead. Just as work without faith limits you to on your own ability. Faith puts faith plus works produce the investment and all purpose that all of us are required to fulfill. Both gambling and investment requires a financial commitment as well as the courage to take a chance. However, it is one is built entirely on chances while the others create the chance to put legs under their low dreams. When you stroll down in Las Vegas Boulevard, the strip, as it's called, you should not be expecting to double your money to Francis Lord new business. You should be accepting to enjoy a relaxing time. And if you're enjoying and paying money to play games, then you come to the right town for recreation. When you stroll down Wall Street, you need to make education decisions about which corporation stocks you want in your portfolio. You have to consider both long and short term goals for yourself and your finances. You have to study the market and look at past performances and future projections. Investigating requires the resources at your disposal, including your own intelligence, and the counsel of others. Applying to opportunities for achievement. Life will always require us to take risks, but we must discriminate which risks are worth taking and which will short circuit our long term goals for short term payoffs. The Bible asks us, for which are you intending to build a tower does not set down first and content the cost. Luke 14, verse 28. If we only think about what feels right in the moment, then our witness will indwelling us every time. We must keep our eyes on the prize of our larger goals and get and grade our car if we are taken to make the right decisions at the right times. Count law losses. My concerns about gambling, transgression, the economic impact, and financial consequences. When a gambler makes a buy-in to play poker, he trades his hard-earned cash for debit card chips that represent versus dollar amounts. Casino owners lose this buy-in as a physical advances, so that people think losing as part of the game, not as rich watching hundreds of dollars go up in smoke. Someone to lose a credit card. One can spend massive amounts of money unaware of the true value of what has been charged. My fear is that too many of us don't realize the value of the chips of life. In our life, such markets may not seem vulnerable, intangible, but every tangible you find that you have lost precious communities, low time, low influence, low name, and low opportunities. When we waste time in dead end relationships, then we'll have lost priceless moments that we can never be recovered. When we remain in a career that numbs us and stunts our growth, then we lose a part in our true indefinitely. From all the people who come to me for consideration, perhaps the most common refrain I have involves great regret, out of fear of rejection. They don't speak up, out of fear. They didn't step out of fear of being alone. They didn't tell the truth. They invasive qualities of their time on this earth. Invaders, individuals, that is that offering no return of quality. If you want to make the most of the Lord's decisions, then you must never lose sight of this fact. The time, the time is our most limited resources and can never be recovered once it is spent. You can go bankrupt and recruit no money. You can endure a scandal and rebuild your repulsion, but your time passes and is gone forever. Think for a moment how much longer you will be if you have back the time you waste. Some people look back at time invested in dating someone who didn't wait, have what they were looking for others. Others had given their name in marriage to someone, and even after divorce, they are still paying for their controllers' damage of a bad decision. You may you have many valuables to lose, and people wouldn't be pushing you if you didn't have something to give. Don't let the chips fool you. Even with every investment you make in people, in business, in life is an important risk that can lead to a redeemable loss. Gambling away your ships, sacrifice more than the sensuality of losing time in low costs. We take risks on short-term goals for the wrong reasons. It consumes low energy and becomes an expenditure of the capital of low repetition. Time will always be one of the most precious commodities. Before you invest it in someone or something, define what the return should look like on your investment. If you have investment apply and see little coming back, then it's now time to reposition your investment in individuals that will give you the biggest return. After all, you and I are running out of time, and sometimes we must cut our losses. What can ever be replaced? The late Oscar Dennis, one of the most gifted musical artists of his generation, for Christian told the story of his boyhood music teacher who taught him this most valuable lesson. Oscar showed up a half hour late for his lesson and tried to downplay it, as kids often do. However, his teacher slammed shut the piano and said, "Lord man, you have taken from me 30 minutes and that I can never replace. When we do not invest our time deliberately and wisely, we're scratching on one of the only commandments that is equally ours. A morning becomes an hour, a day, a week that we will never see again. I had given my previous platforms to someone or written a foreword for someone's book. He, he then didn't value or managers such as influence as well. In such situations, I lost something that the economy cannot add up. Credibly, it took me a long time to realize that when I was associated with someone, I invest my name in who they are. And I've become increasingly more careful when I put my name because you don't have to be sitting there at the blackjack table to gamble away the intention of life definitely. Several years ago, a friend of mine who pastors a very prominent AME church in California in the vicinity gave his pulpit gave his pulpit to the pastor who used my name to get the engagement. The members of this very progressive intelligent church were shocked when the speaker opened his mouth. The pastor realized too late that I never would attach my name to a person of this caliber. When I found out, I was horrified and warned my friend that the next time someone claiming to be coming in my name, he should call me to verify before giving him the opportunity to speak. My example reminds me of the situation with Oprah and author James Fairley. I had spoken with her about this direction, but I gathered from watching the interviews that she was angry because this behavior, fertilizing the details he presents as facts, jeopardizing her name and the value of her endorsement. It was more than just an eye-opening revelation about a selection for her book club. It was potentially a statement on her judgment and familiarity with the sensationally made. Why did she go to war? She knew the value of her ships. Many times people do not defend what they lost because they did not know the value and the advancement they had made. I am asking you to count the ships and know the extent of your investment. If the return doesn't warrant the commitment, you are not inventing you are simply gambling away some precious communities that you may never regain again. Names are very important in the scriptures. Jesus said that if we receive the disciples that come in his name, then we have received him. He also said, "Whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you." John 16, verse 23. God told Abraham that his name will be great. The power of your name is better than an impressive town or an inherited fortune. When your name is great enough, you don't even have to count money. You can purchase a house or car on the value of your name. The inherent entirely of your chapter. Before you leap, faith versus fearlessness. In Scripture, there's a world of difference between gambling away opportunities and swallowing the resources with which we are entrusted. Jesus taught a parable about what it means to risk a partner allegedly. He explains that a man went away and gave each of his three servants an essential amount of money to oversee while he was away. When he returned, the first two servants he doubled his money by investing them wisely. The third servant buried his money because he was so afraid of losing what the master had assassinated to him. His master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant, so you knew that habits where I had not sworn, and gathered where I had not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest." Matthew 25 verse 26 through 27. At the very least, God expects us to return to the investment created in us by utilizing the resource at all deposits in a parable. Each man is given a chance to be more and have more, and most importantly, to discriminate the difference between a gamble and a wise investment. When God gave us an opportunity, we should make something happen with it. Don't hide the chance and lose it out of fear of spending it foolishly. Many people will love to get the short you are missing. They feel that their needs is a chance and you have it and want maximized. We have been given. Let's look at this issue of wisdom by faith in another light. Yes, God requires us to rest, to have faith, and to be good stewards. Before you take a leap of faith, you must draw the line of the listener between faith and foolishness. The defining factor emerges for what we place our faith in. Jesus taught us to have faith in God. Scholars, humanists, and all his cousins in esteemed relationships are taught teach us to have faith in. Faith. There is an incredible degree of difference between faith and the one who orders our steps and has designed longer that's so essential that we can rest in it. And faith in believing what we want to happen will transpire if we scroll our eyes and imagine it in our times in our hands, in our heads. Visualization, visualization can be a powerful movement and performance achievement. However, you must have your higher properties as the lens through which you see your achievements. Or considering this metaphor, faith is to be faith is to the believer with gas what gas is to a car. No one tries to ride home on the gas. Faith is only powerful when used to run the car's engine. You can't sit on a barrel on an oil or a can of gas and expect it to take you anywhere. Similarly, faith is only powerful when placing in God. Many people are disappointed because they only have faith in their own faith, not in God. They then miraculously distract themselves, future from God, because their own faith was not powerful enough to actualize their desires. Starting with faith in God, you still cannot win big if you did. Not critical, but some simpler inner question arises. First, you have to know develop your own ships. Do not think that law intelligible intangibles, or invulnerable. They are the precious part of everything. Get away from luck living or gamble for the things you want and need. Real results require study, resources, action, and yes, again, faith. Understand that real progress is not made by closing your eyes and risking. Once you have done the resource and investments your ships wisely, I encourage you to live without fear. The Vegas style living is over for you. Those who remain affected to such estates almost always end up in regret. Sooner or later, luck changes and all that they have built to build collapse and the vultures of disappointment. The only other trip, the only tip I want to tell you is simple. You will still win some and you will still lose some, but process without fear. It is true that even the investment that seems rises don't always yield a return, but they are far more likely to do so than wild gambling. I have lost in the stock market, both figuratively and literally, but I had also won big. Take the bill with the street. And the occasional loss isn't a sign you are living in a Vegas life. More into your destiny involves yourself and your time, your opportunities and your influences. Live your life without fear or regret. You have mentalized your rest by understanding what you have and by not allowing your investments to continue to disprotect. Today, today is the day that the Lord has made. God has given it to you. What you do with is what you do with it is look up back to your creation. The Almighty has given you the talents and the time that you had. You are highly favored as you live wisely. God gets a return on creation. God's investment in you, making a big win for yourself and God. And before you do, know the difference between faith and a gamble. That's the end of chapter 19 of this book. This is the part 19 of this book. And I will continue to read this book called Conclusion. Now you've done it. Here it goes. On chapter 295. On page 295. Conclusion. Now you've done it. If one invests his confidence in the direction of one's dreams and endeavors to live the life which has remains, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. Decorated with banquets of roses and little and laurels tied with timpani blue ribbons. The secretary of the Apollo's house horns with whisper conversations, breathing the lengthening notes of beautiful music. Among the hundreds of people gathering to celebrate this most memorable occasion, I've seen so many family members and loved ones. Tyler Perry and Dr. Phil all here, along with Catherine Hughes, Deion Sanders, Michael Irvin, priests of every stripe. Martin Luther King III, Baroness King, and other dear friends. Seeing the family and son cruised me to walk her down the aisle. Everyone stands and turns toward us, tears pouring in the corners of my eyes, as this beautiful overgrown woman takes my arm and we glide down the carpet. The moment has come for me to hand her off to the long man awaiting her at the altar. The bridegroom, with tears streaming down his face from the joy of seeing his beloved. My baby girl is about to leap from being my daughter into a brand new family. the one she has been called to make with her new husband. The time for preparation and planning has passed. The humanity of details, from the dresses to diamonds, cakes to subtle scandals, had all covenanted into those next few minutes, when this couple of love will be spectacular and celebrated. So much work, time, and yes, money. After all, after all, I am the father of the bridge. I am the father of the bride. Had not come together to frame the action of the ceremony. It's finally time to say, I do. On your mark. My daughter's wedding is not the only event where such planning and preparation determines its success. My lives in the theater had given me an insider's peek at what goes on behind the scenes. The coaching is only minutes away from partying and ushering in the opening night performances, the excitement, and the adrenaline, and little egos can barely be counted within each participates. Most of Wheaton's preparation meetings set design, lighting and sound checks, and grilling rehearsals had led to the morning long before then. Each member of the cast is posing to contribute all they can in order to ensure that a statement production secretaries and intentions are written undone. My many good friends who are professional athletes assuming of me that the experiences is the same for them and they all equally performances on the playing field. The crowd is only moments away from cheering their favorite team to victory in what is sure to be a championship matchup. Inside the locker room, the team sits up with an air of a nervous adaptation. The coach goes over plays one last time, muscles flats and stripped beneath the uniforms that brand them as a United team. Months of corporate off-season training, summer training camps, strategy meetings, film reviews of competition, and to a day practice had led to the bonnet now before then. Each player watched the opportunities of a lifetime to show their athletic powers and team units before the solicitous fans. Perhaps you had never participated in Broadway production or a professional ball game, but I know that you have undoubtedly experienced the preparation needed to begin and the storytelling performance of your own. If you have read all these pages and reaching this point in our journey, then I can guarantee that you are reading than you have ever been to face the critical decisions that will determine this destiny. Like a performer who has rehearsing her lines for her big morning in the spotlight, or an athlete who has participated in his game to peak performances. You are now ready to shine like never before. Before you do, visualize, toward the goal of launching you into the next level of success in your life. I encourage you to consider one last excuse exercise. Just as a violinist must warm up his shorts before battling out the first note of the performances, or just as an athlete must stretch and warm up his body before the big game. You need to warm up your interest into into a new level of growth, production, and influences. In fact, this exercise that I'm going to recommend it to you is one that successful individuals in many different fields analyze. What is this technique? technical that tends to invent their game. Successful people often invasions themselves going through in the intoxicating monitors of the most unexpectational performances for beginning to end. They militarily visualize each detail that be must be included, each step or stride, each note or line that they will include the execution of their role, like watching a movie or them themselves in a Olympic mill, Oscar-winning performances. They perform a mental dress rehearsals to be prepared for the actuality of their success. You must now do the same. You must envision yourself by doing what you had decided to do. Many people know all the information that I have presented here and still struggling to pull the trigger and make the regret-proof decisions. They seem shocked in realizing that their future requires action now. They do the legalist of resources and deliverments of speaking counsel from their confidence and the preparation and preparing those around from them for change. That they often experience a stage fright and find themselves glued to the floor backstage where the show goes on without them. The mission interrogate is often their ability to see themselves succeed, regardless of the past mistakes and future challenges. The key is often being willing to trust your gut, trust your gut, take the necessary risks, and to seize opportunities when they come to you. It can be tempting to paralyze yourself because of the possibilities, but as we have seen, deferring your decision until other people or circumstances decide for you as a delicious living precedent is a choice even if you are willing to acknowledge that you choose it. After all, preparations have been made, all excuses laid aside, that you must not be afraid to act. Talent applied to skilled producers of create success. Talent is no God given gift. Skill is the hard work, practice, and preparation you yourself to do. But you must recognize opportunities when they present themselves. Make no business plans so when unacceptably find yourself at the entire pressure of losing those sitting next to the venture capitalist looking for investments. You can tell her about your dream. Start your screenplay so that you can explain it to the producer and afterwards conventional write out a mission statement for your minister so that you can present it before the case for the deacon's board. Take the steps one one after another after the next to bring your life to bring your best life to living color. Just do it. When I was a little boy in West Virginia, my siblings, and I would sometimes get into trouble by getting into Mama's cookie jar or tracking the muddy shoe prints all over her carpets. Clean carpets. Let's just start this again. When I was a little boy in West Virginia, my siblings and I will sometimes get into trouble by getting into my mama's cookie jar or tracking the mud shoe prints all over the clean carpets. When my brother or sister or I misbehaved, one of us will look at the others and say, "Well, now you done it." I suspect that for most of us, this phase in the process of mistakes we have made or an incident we were not able to prevent. However, I would like you to realize that its meaning captures creatures, the princess state of preparation, motivation, and actualization. Our decisions have the equality power to shape our lives one day at a time. We can continue to drift through life, bouncing like a loose leaf on the breeze at the mercy of where it takes us, or we can accord our roots in a fantasy soar and intensely preparation. If we make sound decisions, we may be like a tree planted beside living waters, as the pessimism calls that those seeking God's righteousness. But Psalms 1. We must water our tree with self forgetfulness and knowing it was good relationships with the sunlight of God's grace shining down on us. We can then reach for the sky and grow beyond our wildest dreams. My goal for you is that moments after you finish this last page and close this book, you will take a small step towards giant success. My prayer for you is that you will look within, unleashing the wellspring God has placed within you, and allow your creator to flow your life with the joy of Almighty's blessings. My hope for you is that you will become all that God has created you to be, and that you will receive and confident in the direction of your dreams by practicing the power of positive decisions, making it on a daily basis. Make decisions without regrets, knowing that less indeed, now you're done it. Now, here's the announcement. Before I do something as challenging as written a book as written in a book like this, I count on the contributions of so many others than exceeding this corporation individuals. My decision was predicated on the incredible support, encouragement, resources of so many talented individuals. Thank you to my staff and team members for filling up numbers of hours in my schedule, allowing me that time to reflect, recollect, write, and reverse. I pray their decisions to commit to my ministry and my mission will never be ones they regret in any way. They regret in any way. No partnership can function at maximum capability without the dedication of key leaders and contributions. With this in mind, I find my gratitude for many family and at Altar Books only continues to grow. Thank you to Judo Core, Carolina, Gary Under, and Kristen Saunders for casting on my voice for this book and breathing it into life with a favorite passion for exercise, excite me, silently. My appreciation for the effort of Michael Shallett and Larry Norton on behalf of this book continues to grow. Sue Fallon's participation in the process of producing this project greatly achieving its quality. A special note of gratitude to Mark Leonard Aldor for his heart and occasionally inspires flexibility and grace under pressure. I'm also grateful to Douglas DeLipsis for his feedback and input on this book. Jane Miller, and Shannon Mavara and Dupree Miller and associations continue to amaze me with their passion for my work and their relentless commitments to the very best solutions. I cherish their wisdom. I cherish their wisdom, friendship, and shared versions for where my message can go. To Dr. Phil McGarrett, thank you for your support, guidance, concern, and camaraderie as I stretch and grow into new positions, new possibilities. Finally, to my right center and oneness, thank you for the entire gratitude for your decisions more than the 2 decades ago to join me on this joyful adventure. Your love, patience, support, and encouragement erases every era of my life and our life together. To our children, I offer a father's loving appreciation for the ways you continue to grow into maturity and responsibilities that comes with making adult decisions. That's the end of this book, of this final chapter, and this final part 19 of this book called TDJs Before You Do. I have just finished this book and I love reading it. And it brings me joy, it brings me peace, and it brings everything that you all enjoy in this book as much as you do. I hope you enjoy watching this book, my storybook, by me, Joseph Crudup, as I inspire all of you to listen and subscribe and like me on Facebook and on YouTube. That's all for me for now. For myself, I'm Joseph Crudup. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for watching and reading me this book. Until then, God bless you and God keep you and enjoy your life. Peace and soul. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next time.